One of my favorite songs by the Beatles is I'm Only Sleeping. It has a great magical quality to it. I've always loved listening to it, and I've always wanted to record it. I asked my friend Bob to join me to do it. He's been tied up with other things, couldn't do it, so I decided I'd jump into it and do it myself. Started working with it, knew it was an E-flat minor. Didn't really sound right, though, when I was playing it on my guitar in E-flat minor, okay? The voicings didn't sound like the record, and I wanted it to sound like the record. I did a little research, ran across Mike Michelli's YouTube video explaining how the Beatles recorded it, and they tuned down their guitars a half a step, so they were playing in E minor, but it sounded like E-flat minor. And then when John sang it, they slowed the tape down, and John sang it kind of in D, right? But his voice had this artificial kind of cool quality, and that's one of the things that actually, I think, attracted me to the song. So I decided I was going to do it, and I've decided I was going to try and record it like the Beatles recorded, and so here's what I came up with. So here is the amazing thing about the Beatles and most live players. Their tempos drift up and down. Basically, the center tempo for this is about 104 beats a minute, but it does change. I'm going to have the click on, and I'm going to play through this track and just listen to the click. It'll stay with the band. So you see, to get the different sections, they speed up and they slow down. Okay, so there you see it. They do drift around. That's what they do. All right, so on the drums, I use Superior Drummer. Everybody familiar with that pretty much. I listened to the drums on the track and came up with a kit that sounded right. He's hanging on his ride cymbal a whole lot, and he's big with the backbeat of the snare. Solo it. It's 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. It's a nice 8th note triple feel. So I just MIDI programmed it, tried to copy him and get the feel that he had. Got a simple NT2 microphone through a Universal Audio Tube mic preamp, an LA610, only using the preamp, not using the compressor. I've already gotten the settings, but just to give you an idea, kicking it down about 5 dB. First thing I'm going to lay down against the drums is the Taylor Acoustic. Alright, so this is with the Taylor tuned down a half a step, so I'm playing in E minor, but you're hearing it in E flat minor. I'll record a DI bass, and I'll record an amp. He was playing through an amp, and you could hear the room in the... So I'm going to have to figure out a way to get that. Okay, real quick here. Bass amp. Don't really have a bass amp in the room, but I do have this thing, the B-Max T, a little rack mount tube bass preamp. So I use that, get a little bit of distortion on the bass. Alright, well, I've listened to Paul McCartney's bass track a few times. I've kind of figured out the patterns he's using, and I think I'm ready to do this. You know, I gotta say, covering Paul McCartney's bass parts is probably one of the most fun things I ever get to do as a bass player, because Paul McCartney is a unique bass player. He thinks about bass differently because his main instrument is piano, and he understands music very well, so he incorporates a lot of the things that you do with the left hand on a piano into his bass playing that most bass players don't do. It's all very melodic, and it's just always so much fun to look at the way his brain thinks, you know, when you figure out the patterns that he's played. So George Harrison also played acoustic guitar on I'm Only Sleeping, and I took out my Martin and used the same microphone and setup I had for the Taylor and overdubbed a second guitar. So they were recording it in E flat minor. I believe that John decided that he felt his voice didn't sound too good when he was singing it, and it was strained, and they decided to slow the tape down when he recorded his lead vocal. So I have decided that I'm going to do the same thing here and slow the tape down, per se. Here's two separate guitar tracks. Here's a bass guitar track that is a direct and an amplifier. So in order to slow down this entire track, so it's playing slower and it is lower in pitch, I'm going to have to do a few things here. In Studio One, there's a great thing called time stretch, and there's different modes for time stretch. One of the modes is called tape, and it mimics what tape does. So I'm going to set all my audio tracks to tape, resampler. Okay, that's what they call it. Now the two bass tracks are on time stretch tape, and the guitar tracks are time stretch tape. When I record the vocal, also I'm going to record it tape. One of the things I did do on this track was I listened to the Beatles track down here, and I mapped a tempo track that mimicked the pushes and pulls of tempo changes that they performed while they were cutting the track. So, in order to speed up and slow down the song, I have to select all those points. So I just do Command A after clicking on tempo. And now, let me play the beginning of the song so you can hear the beginning. So there we are. That's E flat minor. Now we want to get this down about another half a step, so I can do the same thing John Lennon did, which is sing it without straining my voice too much. Let's bring it down to about 100. All right, so you hear it. It's going slower and it's lower in pitch. So all these pushes and pulls in tempo now, you'll see they're still intact and the track is still intact. Of course, the only thing that doesn't change in pitch is the drums, because these are MIDI drums at the moment. Now we're going to record a little vocal, see what the net result is. So here we go. Excuse me, I'm not warmed up, but here it is.
When I wake up early in the morning, lift my hand, float upstream.
So there's the first couple of lines, and I recorded my vocal to that current speed setting.
When I wake up early in the morning.
So now let's get the track back up to its proper tempo, which was 104. Now let's see what we got.
When I wake up early in the morning, lift my hand, I'm still yawning.
So there you go, it works. Slow the track down, sing to it, speed it back up. Everything's still in tune and at a faster tempo, and my voice has that kind of weird quality to it because it was recorded at a slower speed and played back at a higher speed. So now I'm going to try and get a good take on this vocal. Okay, a little bit about the process of recording the lead vocal here. I've already kind of gotten the track that I want. It's I'm punching in and out. I don't sing great. This right here is the track that I've kind of settled on. But I'm going to show you what I was doing. I wasn't delivering it anywhere near where he was delivering it, so I was like, this is not working that great. So what I did do is, I've talked about all these tracks are in a tape time stretch mode where if I slow the track down, it plays back slower and at a lower pitch, and that's what John Lennon did. So what I did do was I went to the audio file of the record, and if you put it at 0 transpose,
When I'm in the middle of a dream.
that is E flat minor. Now, if you take this and just lower it a half a step with the software, you can hear
Please don't wake me, no, don't shake me.
So that sounds like John Lennon singing, and that's down a half a step, okay? So I would listen to a chorus, like, right, here's a chorus.
Please don't wake me, no, don't shake me.
So I would listen to the phrasing and the way he was singing it, and this up here, this tempo line, this is the song for E flat minor. If I bring it down about 3 beats per minute, now if you listen to me,
Please don't wake me, no, don't shake me.
right, so there I am at D minor. I had to listen to him singing a half a step lower so I could sing a half a step lower, and when you speed my track back up,
Please don't wake me, no, don't shake me. Leave me where I am.
so I've got that little slight kind of Mickey Mouse sound in my voice, right, that you're hearing John Lennon have with the track. Regarding how I recorded the vocals, you saw the microphone in different clips. It's a knockoff of a Neumann U47 tube mic like they used at Abbey Road. And it's a Peluso 2247. Has a steel tube in it. It's a nice microphone. Here, I ran it through a Neve 1073 mic preamp that I really like a whole lot. And then on the insert of that, the Neve, I have a distressor compressor, kind of mimicking a slow, not a very fast compression, and not a lot of compression. Just trying to make it natural sounding. A 3-to-1 ratio. All right, and doing the background vocals all by my lonesome here, I had to sing the falsetto parts first because my falsetto is stronger in the morning, so that's what I did. Turns out I got to the point where I was singing the higher falsetto part, I realized I didn't have the range to perform the part. My friend Bob has that range, but he wasn't here. So ultimately, I had to resort to using Melodyne. I cheated, sorry, but that was the only way I was going to get the part done, and I was going to get the part done. Ooh, you could do that, and then just change it in with Melodyne. That's the only thing I could do, because I just can't perform it. I've decided to create the part with Melodyne because some people may think, hey, you're cheating. Well, guess what? I cheat sometimes. All right, so the first thing we'll do is just get it to sound, since we're cheating, let's just cheat all the way, right? Boom. Get these things close to where they're supposed to be. Boom. Great. So first thing we'll do, this note needs to be higher, and this note is also the wrong note. I know that needs to be there, saying the wrong note there. There we go. See what we got with these harmonies here?
Sleeping.
Okay, great. So I was able to cheat this. Yep, cheating. Sorry. Well, on my songs, I don't do that, because I only sing stuff I can sing on my songs. But this is Beatles, and my friends didn't show up. So in my defense, someone's got to sing it. I can't sing it, so we'll let a little modified me sing it. So it being the 60s, they decided they were going to do some backwards guitar work on I'm Only Sleeping. They spent 6 hours doing this work under very primitive conditions. Of course, I have digital editing, etc., and I was confounded when I started doing this. So here's how I went about it. I've come up with this. These blue tracks are the Beatles tracks. This orange track is a mix down of my track. In order to understand what George played, if we reverse this audio track of the Beatles and play it, so it's just a couple of little riffs he did. All right, so we reverse my track. So the only thing I have to do is play basically in the same spot what he played. Reversing that would give us the effect, I think. So it was just simple riffs. I tried doing it, and it was just a total failure. I could not pull it off. I ultimately figured out a way to kind of get what what would work, and it sounded fairly like what the record, but totally not great. I mean, here's what I came up. So that one's not bad. This one's not very good. Just a little thing I did there at the end of that one. But on this other session, I exported, my track, and I would reverse it and play against it. So on the lead part, so what I ended up doing, this is the smartest thing I could come up with, and what I thought the smart thing to do would be to get the chords to the verse. The lead occurs on a verse progression, which is E minor, A minor, G, C, G, C. Okay, so I just charted it backwards: C, G, C, G, A minor, E minor, and I just played a few riffs to that chord change. And I played those riffs while I was listening to this. It sounds like some 10-year-old kid. But anyway, if you reverse those elements, so the track's going forward and the guitar's going backwards, here's what you get. And then I just imported those into the session that is the song here. So there you go. That was the best way I could come up with to do this. Well, that's how I got all the parts done for I'm Only Sleeping by the Beatles, all by my lonesome. One thing at a time, do the best you can, cheat if you have to. There's plenty of other videos about how to do things on my channel. Please subscribe if you like what you see. I'm Rusty Smith for Record, Mix, Repeat. Thanks a lot.